Well, good morning quirky birders, and welcome to episode 2 of our little seascape picture with our little dog. I hope you've managed to do the drawings okay. So our next step today is that we're going to be concentrating on the sea and the sky. Now these are two different techniques. The sky, I am using a wet on wet process, and then we'll be using the kitchen paper to take away some of the paint to create the lovely little fluffy clouds. And the sea is done with a glazing technique, so I'll be showing you how to do the glazing technique on the actual sea. So I've got my drawing from yesterday. So that's all here and ready. So let's make a start. So you will need some kitchen paper for this today. And then I'm just going to be using my usual size 6 round-headed brush for this. I've got my paint palette that I've sprayed with some water, so it's managing to take up some of the colour, so they're all ready to go. And I've also got my palette if I need to mix any different colours. So because we're going to be doing the glazing technique, what we need to do is I'm going to be making a start actually on the sea itself. And the beauty of this effect is that we actually don't paint the whole of the area, and we leave some of the paper actually exposed, so you can see there's parts of the painting that's white, and that's where the paper is just coming through on the colour. So let's make a start. So what I'm going to do is I am going to be using my palette. I've got my water here, and I'm just going to be taking up some of the blue, so I'll put some of the blue directly into the palette. So all I'm doing is just wetting my brush is then going into the pan set, taking up the paint, and then I'm putting it directly into the palette. Now if I wanted to warm this colour up ever so slightly, what I can do is either put in a little bit, and I mean a little bit, of the red, and we've just got a bit more of a purpley bluey tone, or you could even add in some yellow. So I'm quite happy with that colour. So the glazing technique works by wet on dry. So my paper is dry, my brush is wet, and my paint is mixed. So just using the kitchen paper just to take some of the excess off my brush, and then just going to make a start with the colour of the sea. And I'm just keeping it fairly loose. I'm not covering the area, like I say, in a solid sweep of colour. I'm keeping the brush strokes horizontal because obviously it's to create the appearance of the sea. But as you can see, I'm only working in certain areas. I'm not filling the area in completely. And just think about how the sea looks. Think about the white towards the shoreline, because you can use the white then as the edge of the waves as the sea is coming onto the shore. And probably put a little bit of the darker colour just on that horizon line. Okay, now I'm just going to leave that to dry, and while that's drying we'll have a quick go at the sky up here. So for the sky, I'm going to create a bit of a brighter blue. So I'm just going to again just use my palette. And we'll put in a little bit of the white just to make it a little bit paler. Now the difference for the sky is that we're going to be working wet on wet. So what I need you to do is, using your brush, and it doesn't matter if it's still got some of the residue of the blue of the sea, is you just need to fill the area of the sky in with the water. Now don't saturate the paper, so don't put loads on it so it gets really, really soggy. Just keep it nice and light, but just using just water only and your brush. Just bring that sky down towards the sea. Now just be careful, if you're going to be working as quickly as I am, that you don't leak the water over into your line where your sea is. So just be very, very conscious as to how far that comes down. And then using the colour that we've mixed, so I'm using this brighter blue with the white, is we just need to then just softly paint in the sky, keeping it nice and loose. Again, just with paying particular attention to the colours and shapes. You don't want different brush strokes, you just want it nice and loose. Water will help the paint to move around, so if you wanted to add just a little bit more water, do so, just using your brush. And then we'll come down here, a little bit dark. Like I say, if you've got too much excess on there, just with a thirsty brush and a drier brush, just take that line back. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm just going to let that dry because I'm quite happy with how that's looking at the moment, and then I'm going to come down and just work again with the glazing of the sea. So I am going to use the paint that I've just mixed for the sky. So I'm using this lovely blue that's mixed with the white, so it's quite pale. And for the glazing effect to work, what you need is you need to have had the paint underneath to have dried, and then all you're going to be doing is just over painting. Again, very, very randomly, just keeping it very, very loose. Just over paint. And can you see how you're just getting this lovely texture in the actual sea? Try not to make it too heavy around the shoreline. It's nice to keep some of that white, which demonstrates the sea breaking on the shoreline. And know when to stop. Know when to don't overwork it. Just know when to stop. The glazing process works best when you build the layers of colour, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing with this. we're going to be just building different layers of colour. Just take it round the top of the little doggy's head. Okay. So I'm just going to take up just that excess pooling there, just to soften that ever so slightly. Okay, so this is still wet. It's still, obviously, because it's wet on wet, so we're going to work up here and just add in some more colour into the sky. So this time I'm going to mix up a bit more of a petrol-y colour, and to that I can add in a little bit of the green, and maybe a bit of the yellow. Too green now, so we'll go back to the blue. When you're colour mixing, you really can't make any mistakes. You know, you've just got to have some fun and just play around with the different colours and adding in different colours. Sometimes you'll get to a sort of a muddy stage when the two colours have cancelled one another out, but that's it. That's all you can end up doing, really. So I've just got like a nice sort of tealy colour, so I'm going to be using the tealy colour in the actual sky. So let's just start by putting in a little bit more shading. Again, just around the base of the clouds. Like I say, you don't have to be too precise with it. We're not doing anything where we're looking for, you know, bold lines. Just keep it nice and loose. And the paint will move around really nicely because you've wet the paper before and you're working with the wet on wet style. Okay, so I'll just mix up a little bit more of that tealy colour. So we'll start with the petrol colour, doing a bit of the yellow. And then we'll just carry on with the same colour, and we'll just add in some details of our sea, so we can just overpaint and use the glazing process again with our sea. It's a very, very simple but very effective technique. Just going to soften that ever so slightly. Now personally, I think that we need a bit of a pop of colour. I think it's all looking a little bit moody, so I just want it a little bit brighter. So, using the palette again, we'll pick up some of the blue. And we'll just add in a little bit of the green. Just want a nice brighter blue. It's getting there now. Just add in a little bit of the white. Perfect. So I've got a nice brighter blue. So with our brighter blue, we'll go back up to our sky. Just put in a bit more colour. And just using, like I say, just using the water with no paint, you can get that paint to move around really quite easily. And then to put some little clouds in, take your kitchen paper and just rip a little bit off, so you've just got a little bit. And then all you're going to do is just literally just rub where you've painted, and that will take away some of the paint and just give you that texture and just that little bit of interest to your sky. Put in a little bit more of the blue. Rub that off very gently. Now I'm quite happy with that sky. I think that's looking really quite a nice looking sky. So what we'll do now is we'll just come down here, and again just using this nicer brighter blue that we've mixed, going to put in a little bit more detail on the glazing. So again, just over painting, just to give you that lovely range and depth of colour and tone to your sea. Such a simple and easy process, but just take your time, enjoy the process, because it really is quite relaxing to see how these colours build. So I'm just concentrating now on the on that horizon line. And that horizon line, with the pencil line, we will be able to rub out once the painting's finished and it's all perfectly dry. And doing this technique side by side, so we've worked wet on wet for the sky and we're using the glazing process for the sea, you really get to appreciate the difference of the two techniques and how different they look. When you see them side by side. Okay, well, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with my sky, and I'm also happy with the glazing on my sea. So I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll be back to you tomorrow for episode 3. And tomorrow we're going to be working on the shoreline, and we're also going to be working on our little dunes. Okay. Any questions? I'm around. If you have any queries or you need any help, then please just get in touch. I'm about and I'm happy to help. So I shall see you all again tomorrow. Goodbye.